you're in a school, bullying's happening. How often does it happen? How often does it get away with? And what do they do about it?
So we have, some of the statistics that we are built on. 96% of the time, the bully gets away with it. So in a supervised, safe, generally safe school, with good policy and procedure in place, 96% of the time the bully can still get away with it. And that's because...
Hold on.
Yeah.
Are you telling me in a school with the most trained people on adolescence and education are being fooled 96% of the time?
Well, and I think you have to realize that kids are good at it. Bullies are good at it. And, we were talking earlier about, what do you do and how do you handle that? And when a lot of dads will say, punch him in the nose. My kid's not going to get bullied because I'm going to tell him to go. But if you break down the definition of habitual, that means it's repeated, right? That there's a power imbalance, so that means this person has some sort of social strength or physical strength over you, or a group of people over the size of your group or your social network. So realistically, you'd never punch your bully in the nose. And one of the things I'll say to parents and teachers is, even as adults, we have these people who have some kind of power over us, right? That have a strength over us, and they routinely get away with treating us a certain way that we aren't always happy with, and a lot of times that could be a supervisor, it could be a boss. I think the sheer nature of going to a job with a manager or people in other positions that oversee yours, it can kind of make you feel like you've been bullied, right? And we don't stand up to those people, so why would we expect our kids to punch somebody in the nose on the bus that's saying, go kill yourself? So when we talk about 96% of the time the bully gets away with it, I think that we have to remember, the bully's good at it, and then just the element of bullying creates that culture of, don't say anything, and no one comes forward, and it's swept under the rug by the students. And there's good kids that are present when it happens, because the other statistic that exists that motivates the heck out of us is 85% of the time it's done in front of someone. Because, the bully often has a very sad story themselves, and they're seeking their own significance and acceptance. They're seeking their own attention and identity. So they're going to do things that are going to be shocking. They're going to say things and to get people's attention, and usually that's at the expense of someone else, and it's probably someone that's a weaker person to target. So we off of those two statistics, the 96% of the time the bully gets away with it, 85% of the time there's someone there. One of the other statistics that we really grabbed onto early in our development is within 10 seconds, if someone jumps into action during that moment, that 10-second window, 60% of the time bullying can be stopped in its tracks. So that's over half the time we can have students stop bullying in its tracks. So those three, statistical numbers really motivate the heck out of us to train more kids to be sweethearts and heroes. The statistic around the 96% of the time, I just remember it was under surveillance on playgrounds, like there were teachers present. So you can give someone a look, right? You can whisper. You could do something yesterday that still lingers today, so that in my presence it makes you feel uncomfortable. So, it really isn't too hard to kind of figure out how it can go unnoticed. But a lot of parents, they don't do well with that statistic. They just want to know that their kid is going to be, guaranteed safety, and that's just not the case. You really have no way of ensuring that, and they assume that schools are doing nothing about it. And that couldn't be any further from the truth. There's procedure, and there's policy, and there's code, and principals, assistant principals are spending a lot of time trying to get to the bottom of things. But without those sweethearts and heroes in a school, usually information doesn't get brought forward.
Just to take it full circle back to this bystander empowerment, the creation of sweethearts and heroes. I mean, being in front of 1 million kids, Jay, has put us in front of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of teachers, administrators, and I can count on these hands how many really crummy schools I've been to. And yeah, I want to find a bigger problem in schools. I want to say, yeah, that's the problem. But I connect one-on-one with principals, assistant principals, teachers, educators, and I haven't found too many bad ones. And I haven't found too many that weren't there to help kids become better versions of themselves, become good citizens. I mean, that's all I find out on the road. Rick and I have been in over 100 schools this school year alone. And I haven't found too many that are like, this guy's terrible. And still in these environments, that behavior's gotten away with. In zero tolerance, where states make it against the law to bully, to have that kind of negative behavior, it's gotten away with. And that's why we know, coupling these 96% of the time, but most of the time it happens in front of other people, our biggest advantage is to put these kids on the front line, the ones that are going to see it. I mean, I famously turn to parents and teachers and I say, what was the name of the kid when you were in school? What's his first name? And they look at you and they kind of furrow their brow and they say, what do you mean? Well, that kid, this kid when you were in school, what was his name? And I've never found a person that couldn't tell me that kid's name. I mean, I talk to people in their 70s or 80s. It's one of the first things I ask them because I see the light bulb go on and they're like, oh, and they just think so hard and they come up with that kid's name. And I say, that kid had a 40 to 50% better chance of probably receiving empathy from his or her peer than the kid today. But all the kids know who it is. They know where it happens, when it happens, why it happens, and who it happens to, and nothing is being done because they haven't been trained. And so Jason's right, those numbers motivate the heck out of us. We know our greatest opportunity is to create those sweethearts and heroes on the front line, to jump into action or to give hope to kids that need it. And it sounds pretty generic, saying it over and over again, but I'm telling you, that's where the magic's at. And when you can get a kid like a Cameron or some of these other kids that Jason has worked on for years, it changes the world. Because if you can think back to a moment where someone did something for you, someone, put themselves out of their way for you and helped you, never forget it. It'll change your life.